Our reading this evening comes from the book of Jonah. And we'll read portions from chapter 1 and then chapter 3. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai, saying, "Go at once to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me." But Jonah set out to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid his fare and went on board to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. But the Lord hurled a great wind upon the sea, and such a mighty storm came upon the sea that the ship threatened to break up. And we know that the story goes on to say that Jonah was thrown overboard, and he was swallowed up in the belly of a fish. And after he was in that belly of the fish 3 days, 3 nights, he was hurled up upon the dry shore. And we pick up in chapter 3, where the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time, now saying, "Get up, go to Nineveh, that great city, and proclaim to it the message that I tell you." So Jonah this time set out and went to Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly large city, a 3 days' walk across. Jonah began to go into the city, going a day's walk, and he cried out, 40 days more, and Nineveh shall be overthrown." And the people of Nineveh believed God. They proclaimed a fast, and everyone, great and small, everyone being more than 120,000, everyone put on sackcloth. This is our word of the Lord for us today. Where are you, God? This is our sermon series for this month. As we recognize that this is a question we may ask at different points in our lives. And perhaps the most frequent time this question is asked comes after the death of a loved one, a terminal illness, an accident, old age. Whether it's something we would never have seen coming or something seemingly expected, the death of a loved one can still be something that's impossible to prepare for. And while we feel the temptation to simply celebrate a life, the truth is that the pain is real. Their loss changes our lives forever. And our grief proves our love. The church has this beautiful tradition of allowing space for grief. And on this day, this All Saints' Day, we ring a bell and a candle, and we light a candle to honor those who have died this past year that have been a part of the Calvary family. Some of the names we may know, some of the names maybe not so much. But inevitably, other names come to mind as well. Others who may not have had a service here at Calvary. Others who died perhaps years ago, but whose death still seems like yesterday. So today we give ourselves permission to grieve, to miss the person who used to sit in the empty seat next to us, and to ask the question, where are you, God? Together. And as we worship together, we ponder the concept of All Saints. In the history of the Christian church, All Saints' Day was originally set aside to commemorate all those martyrs from the early persecutions whose names were never recorded. And over time, this celebration then extended to remember all who have died. Inevitably, we think of those who no one would rightfully question as a saint. But I bet we also think of those today who did not live perfect lives. So I think, in a way, All Saints' Day can be kind of weird. Have you ever noticed that when someone dies, there's a tendency to embellish the saintly side of them and brush aside the sinner side of them? We choose to pick the perfect pieces that earn them a golden ticket to heaven and forget the imperfections. But today I want to ask the question, does God do that? Well, NBC has a show this fall called The Good Place. Does anybody watch The Good Place at all? A few people? Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about it. This is a woman named Eleanor wakes up to discover that she's entered the afterlife. She's told that she made it to the good place because of her good deeds in the past life. And this is how the show describes it. During one's time on earth, every action has either a positive or a negative value, depending on how much good or how much bad that person puts into the universe. And every single thing one does has an effect that ripples out over time. And when time on earth is ended, they calculate your total value in life, with only those with the highest score getting to go to the good place. And Eleanor is told that she made it because she helped get innocent people off death row, plus other international humanitarian work. And as she hears of her life's description, she smiles. But the show's plot goes on to say that she realizes they made a mistake. She didn't do those things. They have her file mixed up with somebody else. She snuck into the good place accidentally. And now she must hide her morally imperfect past from everyone else to avoid being sent to the bad place. Now, this is a fictional show, of course, but it speaks to perhaps this understanding that you can earn your place in the eternal kingdom through accumulating good deeds throughout your life. But is that what we believe to be true about God? Well, today we read just a couple portions of a short book in the Bible that uses humor and exaggeration to speak truth to the human challenge of choosing, like Jonah had to choose, to either give people what they deserve or loving them, even if they're the enemy. This is Jonah. This is the book of Jonah. For God asks this guy named Jonah to go to a city called Nineveh to share the love of God with them. To Jonah, Nineveh was the enemy. Speaking of which, Nineveh today is present-day Mosul. So this is Middle East, and Jonah said, I'm not going there. So Jonah refuses to go, boards a ship heading in the exact opposite direction to Tarshish. And as a storm engulfed the ship, we know the story. The sailors took Jonah, threw him overboard, and that's when the large fish swallowed him up. And it's here that he prayed to God, and that's when the fish coughed him back up onto the dry land. And Jonah was given another chance by God to go to Nineveh, the enemy, to share God's love with them. And this time, reluctantly, he went. Preached the Bible's least heartfelt sermon. In the whole Bible, an 8-word sermon, very not heartfelt. And somehow it worked. 8 words, not heartfelt at all. And for all of Nineveh, totaling more than 120,000 people and their animals, they were all converted. That's what it took. They repented. They turned to the Lord, putting Jonah in the Evangelism Hall of Fame. And after this, you would think that Jonah would be ecstatic, right? He would be excited to celebrate his kingdom victory. You would think that the local TV channels would be interviewing this new Christian celebrity. But Jonah wasn't happy. Jonah was ticked. He was ticked at God. Jonah scolded God, said, "This is why I didn't want to go. I wanted to go to Tarshish. I knew that you would be a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and ready to relent from punishing. I knew you'd be that kind of God. I just didn't want you to be that kind of God to them. He was ticked. And he said, if you're going to show them that kind of love, then I might as well die. And then God had kind of an odd response. God appointed a little bush for Jonah. Jonah went out into the desert and he was moping. He's out in the desert moping, and so God gave him a bush to give him some shade. And then Jonah had a little temporary relief from his sorrows, and he said, oh, wonderful, now I've got some shade. And at that point, then God appointed a worm to go and to eat up that bush, and so the shade went away, and once again, Jonah says, oh, I might as well die. I mean, this is a crazy story. But the book of Jonah ends with God asking Jonah this question. You're concerned about a bush. Shouldn't I be concerned for all of Nineveh? That's how the book ends, with a question. The story of Jonah is about a God who does not give up on reluctant, stubborn, dramatic, angry people like Jonah. And even through this moody Jonah, God's love is revealed to all of Nineveh. And in the same way, the story of Jonah is about a great city of people long deemed to be the enemy of God's people, long deemed to be outside of God's love. But in this story, God must choose between being reluctant and stubborn and angry God's self, or being slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and ready to relent from punishing. And that's what God chooses. So who is the saint in this story? Well, I believe that a saint is someone who doesn't necessarily achieve moral perfection, but it's someone who reveals God's love to us. Let me say that again. I believe a saint is someone who may not achieve moral perfection, but they reveal God's love to us. And I believe the love of God is certainly revealed through people's most admirable qualities, right? Those in which their lives are close to as holy as we can imagine. But I also believe the love of God can be revealed through imperfections, faults, and mistakes. For in the Bible, we see God's grace extended to and through people who wouldn't necessarily make it on the plus side of that cosmic equation. If Jonah would prefer that God would just treat people the way they deserve, treat people fairly, then those Ninevites would be outside of God's grace. But ironically, so would Jonah. Jonah would be outside that grace too. Yet the good news of the Bible story is that God's love extends to both Jonah and the Ninevites anyway. So as we celebrate All Saints, we think of those that have gone before us. As we grieve, we may ask, where are you, God? And when we ask, where is God, I don't believe an angry and stubborn God is sitting on the other side of the cosmic calculator, determining who has earned a golden ticket to heaven. I believe the story of Jonah is a biblical rebuttal against the notion that the afterlife is determined by a series of calculations based on earthly merit. I see a God. Where are you, God? I see a God in this story that's at work in the world to let sinner saints know that grace is not something to be earned. It's a gift to be shared. This is a God who does not omit our imperfections from our obituaries, who doesn't save sinners only by mistake, but a God who knows our real selves, loves us, redeems us, and welcomes us with open arms even still. And as we remember those we have entrusted to God's care today, we hold on to the good news that we hear in Jonah, the good news that God is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and ready to relent from punishing. And for this we give thanks. Amen.